First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello and welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, thanks for joining us here. We are live on our social media channels, on our website, on our apps, so lots of places to interact and share the show. And right now, though, we are talking about something that's going to be coming up on Fox 12 Plus later today, and that is the Blazers' final preseason game against the Phoenix Suns. So that's going to be it starts at 6:30, the preseason game, the game after that. So you will definitely want to be checking that out later on. But right now, we're going to talk about the game, the season, everything that's happening with it, with the one and only Lamar Hurd joining us. Lamar, thank you for being here with us today. I am excited to talk about the Blazers, but you have gotten to see this up close, the preseason. I mean, pretty much a whole new team. Not entirely, but I mean, definitely a different look. And, just kind of an overview. What have been your impressions so far, having seen them play?
It's felt completely different, although it's not entirely, literally a new team. Just not having Damian Lillard alone is enough of a change to sometimes be jarring. I remember walking into media day before training camp started, and we're so used to Damian Lillard being the first person that would show up in media day, and he would set the tone of kind of how media day would go. And it's a reason why I'm 8 seasons in, and for 8 years, I've had great experiences on media day because the star franchise player always set a tone that it was going to be as such. Fortunately, we had a similar media day this year, but he wasn't there. So without him, a lot of things are different. And some of those differences come in the form of rookie Scoot Henderson, who is now the guy that will have the ball in his hands at that point guard position. He's been so fun to watch already, and also very fun to get to know. That was one of the things about Dame that I see a comparison in with Scoot is his story and his life outside of basketball, very similar. Big family, very supportive, well-raised, wants to be a figurehead throughout the community, wants to be a leader that touches people not only on the basketball court, but off of it. So I've already been able to see that from Scoot. And then you got returners like Anthony Simons, who I don't know, Greg, if you got a chance to see the last game against Utah, but Anthony Simons is poised for a stellar year. I think he can register all-star type numbers. Doesn't mean he'll make the all-star game, but I think he'll be one of those guys that will have those kind of numbers on the offensive end. And then Jeremy Grant coming back after signing a big contract and stepping into more of a leadership roles. And then the big trade where DeAndre Ayton comes over from Phoenix, former #1 pick. The Blazers get to acquire him at his happiest time. He has said he's never been this happy playing basketball and this excited to play for a team because he just feels like it's a team that needs him. It was a move that he welcomes, that he was really searching for, and he's grateful to the Suns, where he also had a good time playing basketball, making it to the championship round. He's grateful to them for sending him to a team like the Blazers. And then you got a rookie like Toumani Camara, who came out of nowhere to a lot of people, second-round pick, who has shown some flashes of a rotation player. So I could spend time going down the list of all the names, but I will spare you because we'll go over all that tonight in the game against the Suns, the last preseason game. We're excited to hopefully see a lot of the young guys get more opportunity out there.
Yeah, I mean, it really is interesting to see just, how everybody's going to step up, the roles that are going to be played, like you mentioned, Scoot now being at the helm, as far as having the ball in his hands, being that distributor for everybody, and not only that, but leadership. So I think that's really nice to hear, or, I think for Blazers fans, for Lillard fans, it's nice to hear that Scoot is kind of following a little bit in that same mold as far as wanting to reach out to the community, wanting to take those reins. But he is so young. So that is going to be, something that's absolutely, I think, will be interesting to see his growth over the season if he's already at this level.
Yeah, I think we'll see that team-wide, just a lot of growth. There's only 2 Blazers, Jeremy and Anthony, who have played at least 5 seasons in NBA. So there is going to be a lot of newness. There's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some tough lessons learned along the way. You might see this team have a great game one night against one of the league's best teams and then lay an egg the following night because that's just kind of what immature teams do. And what I mean by immature, I'm just talking length of years, length of years of service in the league. They have to take their lumps and go through it, but it's going to be a storyline that we can follow all throughout the year is that growth process. And it should be fun to watch because there are some exciting individuals on the team. Now, how long that takes to mesh and become a collective, that'll be what we're all watching to see. But individually, especially considering the Blazers losing Damian Lillard, you look at what they got back in return for that. it's some stuff you can get excited about in this rebuild, regrowth process for the organization.
Well, going along those lines too, as far as those trades, DeAndre Ayton, I mean, him coming in, he's a big time center, something that we haven't had a player, I feel like, quite like him in a long time in a Portland uniform. And that's nothing against Nurkic, but it's just Ayton's just a different kind of player. And looking at him coming here, you mentioned that he's happy. Do you think like his experience with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and having those Western Conference final runs and further going to the finals, do you think that's going to translate well here, even though he is young for the Blazers?
Yeah, I definitely do think so, because he's the only one that has that experience at that level playing that much. Now, Malcolm Brogdon has played in some big-time basketball as well, but DeAndre at that center position, figuring to be the starting center, he'll have a voice that not everybody else will have. So he has also said that is something he knows he can offer to the team. So he's excited to give that, to be a teacher of sorts while still being relatively young.
Yeah.
So that's what's so crazy about this whole thing is you got guys like him who had been being taught by Hall of Fame players to now trying to take on that same role. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds for him, to see what kind of leader can he be. And I know he's looking forward to the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that does speak to how young the team really is. Because I mean, a 25-year-old somewhere else, that's not going to be like your one of your main veterans. But him, Jeremy, even Anthony, with still really young, but I mean, he's got the years in here with the Blazers, and like you mentioned, prime for a big year. And I think that's something that's also going to be interesting to see is how they balance that with him and Shaedon on who's going to get more minutes. I mean, there's only one basketball out there. So how do you divide all that up with all those players? Any kind of signs that you've seen so far of how that's going to work out?
Well, that's a good point you bring up, because I've talked about storylines with players. There's a storyline with Coach Billups as well. Coming into his third season, this team is a team that I think fits what he wants to do in terms of style of play, passes per game. They want that to go up. They want pace of play to go up, not just north-south, but east-west after you cross the half-court line. They want to cut hard. They want to screen hard. They want to drive. They want to get into the paint. And Anthony, along with Shaedon, who's a name I haven't named that I'm super excited about, I have been since last season, I want to see how they gel, those three guards, Anthony, Shaedon, Scoot, and then you throw Malcolm into the mix. Things can get interesting. So there's just so much to be answered. And I just know that there's an excitement going into this season of new opportunity for all these guys. That wasn't the case before, because you knew beforehand the ball is going to be in Damian Lillard's hand. Before that, it was Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. Those are good hands for the ball to be into. But now that's not the case. So who's going to step up? Who's going to offer those hands to go and make plays? And that's what we're all waiting to see.
Well, and you mentioned a guy like Malcolm coming in. I mean, that's a good point, coming from, what could be a championship contender, then going to the Blazers, who I don't think anybody's expecting the Blazers to compete for a championship this year. We know what the situation is. It's going to take some time. But he's a veteran. And but he did say that he's happy to be here, that this is where he is, down the line. This could be, maybe he gets traded at some point, but with him there and with some of these other players and all these young players, you probably haven't had a lot of time to gather it and watch it, but I know you're around the team. What's the sense of like them getting along? What's the sense of the camaraderie of that side of things? Does it seem like they're amenable to each other, or is it still kind of figuring it out?
Yeah, no, it's all there. It's all there because they all know they need each other. They know they're not a team that's going to overwhelm people with talent and veteran leadership. So they have to have one another in order to make this thing work. So in everything they've done, on the court, off the court, there's been a togetherness, which quite frankly has been here since I've been here. I've seen it every year in, year out. And again, Dame was the one who really made a lot of that possible from the leadership position, but it is transferred over. And there's leadership also in the front office that sets a tone for this organization. General Manager Joe Cronin has given his team a mandate of how he expects things to go, and so has his staff. And so the team is following suit. There is a togetherness. They do fit. Now it's about how do you fit on the court to make it all work out.
Well, I'm looking to that, talking about tonight's game. What can we expect? It's the final preseason game, so sometimes those are, you never know who's going to play, but what can we expect when we're watching that tonight, do you think? What do you think Coach Billups is going to do?
Not sure in terms of personnel. We're still trying to figure that out, but regardless of who plays, there's a style of play that Coach Billups is trying to activate within his team so that throughout the season, 82-game season, going into a certain night, you don't know who's going to be available and who's not. But what he wants is to be able to play the same way every time. So I'm looking forward to see who does play tonight, but more so I'm looking forward to see of those guys who do play on the floor, what type of role do you feel? How do you make the most of that opportunity on that given night? And how can you fit into the bigger scheme of what this team is trying to do? It's still competition. It's still training camp. After this last game, these guys have 8 or 9 days or so before the first regular season game. So it is still a competitive environment, and tonight counts.
Yeah, everybody's fighting for minutes, especially some of those guys maybe a little bit further down the chart who are fighting for some of those backup minutes. Yeah, this is huge to get some of those. Well, definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to the game tonight, and of course for your broadcasting. I think one more question just for you. You know, as a broadcaster, I think what years that you're going into? Is it you say it's 8?
8, yeah.
8 years. So you have seen a lot, but this is certainly going to be one of the biggest differences without Dame there. Clearly for everybody. That's for fans too. I mean, I can't even look at the pictures of him in the Bucks uniform. I click away from it when I see it. I'm like, I'm not ready to see that.
I understand.
But going into the season, and this being kind of a different thing from what we've had before, from a broadcasting standpoint, what are you looking forward to?
I enjoy being able to tell the players stories, and that's not just off the floor, but on the court as well. Not only analyzing why they do certain things on the court, but what are some things that has happened throughout their career, childhood, high school, college, scoop, G League. What are some of the things that took place during those points in times in their lives that has impacted who they are today? And how does who they are impact what they do out there on the floor? I think those are the things that, as an analyst, it's our duty and a great opportunity to be able to convey to the fans whenever we get the chance, because fans want to understand these guys a lot. And what these guys want fans to know as well is they are more than just the basketball players you see out there on the floor. They want people to understand them and to know more about them. So that's what I look forward to, no matter who's suiting up. We've had some tough finishes to the last couple seasons after being in the playoffs every season. And I can tell you that the finishes to the last 2 seasons were no less exciting for me than were the previous 6 seasons when the team was making the playoffs, going to the Western Conference Finals, because my role stays the same no matter of the outcome of the win-loss or of who's out there on the floor.
Yeah, that's such a great way to look at it. I think that's kind of how everybody's going into the season too. It's it's a new start. It's kind of a clean slate, but it's not really. There's still some good pieces in there that from before. We still have, the coach at the helm, and see how this goes. And I love the fact, going back to what you said at the beginning, that the community aspect here in Portland is always something big. We're a small big town,
Yeah.
So knowing the players is really a big thing here. It's not like there's a lot of other. Not as many other distractions here, maybe, as there are in other cities where, places are a big one, and everybody wants to get to know those guys. And I'm glad to hear that they are interested in that as well, that they want to be part of that too.
Definitely are. I think you'll like it. I think you'll enjoy following the whole storyline.
Awesome. Well, Lamar, thank you very much for your time. I know you got a lot to get ready for here tonight. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. And I'm just going to wrap this up right now for everybody watching live. So again, Fox 12 Plus, that is where you can watch the Blazers preseason game today at 6:30 p.m. The preseason show, or the pregame show starts. Preseason game after that. So follow along there. Hopefully everybody's joining in. And Lamar, thanks for being here. Appreciate that. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And talk to you soon. Good luck tonight.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the game tonight.
Absolutely. And thanks, everybody. We'll close it out now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.